Of course, I've ended up in isolation since Corona, and since then, I'm simply not allowed on TV anymore. Except here, but this is a relatively small program. And in the afternoon shows and the major newspapers and things like that, it's all, well, a blockade, and that needs to be broken.
Thierry, that's what I want to talk to you about. That obstacle you see to making Forum big during a crucial period in which the PVV is slipping in the polls and is no longer even virtually the largest party in the country. Recently, you were on with Wagerman and Van Veldhuizen, and among other things, you said this.
The two most important things that have happened to Forum since 2020, in my opinion, are firstly, that I was no longer allowed to appear in the mainstream media. And so I simply couldn't reach the general public anymore, only on social media, and the Facebook algorithm was changed to make Trump's re-election in America impossible, but that applies to all political parties. Facebook is no longer a mass medium, so I can reach far fewer people.
I want to talk to you about those mainstream tables, those kinds of places where you also had an interview back then. Why? You see that as an obstacle. You have to be there to be able to explain your story to a large part of the Netherlands. But is that really the case? Because the number of viewing minutes is decreasing at those mainstream talk shows. And just look at the PVV, which became the largest party, and they only joined those shows at a few select moments before the elections. Wilders is tweeting all day long. Isn't that just something as well? Yes, which might be easy to say. I often see tweets about it, also about the unbelievable extent to which FVD is excluded from the mainstream media. And that's true, of course, to some extent. There are some places where you're not allowed to be. For years, I've been ignored by the media. You complain about that, but to what extent is that mainstream media really crucial for breaking through? Is that really the case?
Yes, I agree with you that Wilders is an exception. Geert has built a very strong brand with the immigration theme, of course, which he was the first to really claim in the Netherlands. And that's what he thrives on. That's simply a very strong position. A lot of people think, yes, I'm really done with those foreigners. I'm going to vote for Geert. So, in that case, that's how it is. But I do think that's the exception that proves the rule, so to speak. I think that, yeah, actually all other political parties and other political movements still need the mainstream media. And yes, if you can participate in a normal way, then people also see, hey, that's just a legitimate story, a legitimate viewpoint. They're just sitting there at the table. You can be associated with them. You know, then that whole status anxiety disappears. A lot of people have that status anxiety. They're afraid to speak out for something and so on. It's all in people's heads. It's all something that people imagine that it could be very dangerous, and then I'll lose all my friends. In reality, it's really not that bad, but because everyone keeps quiet, everyone is afraid to speak out, a kind of sense of untouchability arises. And if you break through that, also by showing that you can just sit at talk show tables like anyone else and so on, then it becomes normal. Then that taboo really disappears.